Greetings to all my dear students. I am Ishwarya Jain, and today we will start Introduction to Pharmacognosy according to MSBT syllabus, and here I present you on behalf of Pharma Scholastic. The subject I will teach you is pharmacognosy, and the code for the subject is 807. So what do you mean by pharmacognosy? These substances from plants and animal sources are being used as food since antiquity. Later on, these substances were differentiated as foodstuffs and therapeutic agents. As man tried to explore and utilize these natural products for treating the ailments, thus their utility to remove disorders earned them the title drug, originally from French language. Introduction to Pharmacognosy. The term pharmacognosy was first coined and used by C.A. Sedler in 1815. In a small book he wrote on crude drugs entitled Atlantica Pharmacognostica. It was derived from two Greek words, pharmakon, which means a drug, and gnosis, which means knowledge of, or gignosko, which means to acquire knowledge of. Thus, the literal meaning of pharmacognosy is knowledge of drugs or to acquire knowledge of drugs. Thus, pharmacognosy may be defined as the objective study of crude drugs and related substances of natural origin to acquire knowledge about their nature and properties. It may also be defined as an applied science which is concerned with acquiring knowledge of all aspects of crude drugs and other natural substances of pharmaceutical importance by the application of various scientific disciplines. Hence, pharmacognosy is defined as scientific and systemic study of physical, chemical, structural, and biological characters of crude drugs along with their history, method of cultivation, collection, and preparation for the market. The various systems of classification of drugs and natural origin. What is crude drug? A crude drug is any naturally occurring unrefined substance derived from the sources such as plant, animal, bacteria, organs, or whole organisms intended for the use in the diagnostic cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease in humans and other animals. The crude drugs obtained from different natural sources are used in the treatment of wide spectrum of diseases. For their adequate study, it is necessary to arrange them in scientific and systemic matter. Their huge number and varied occurrence make it difficult to put them in uniform pattern. For pharmacognostic study, crude drugs can be arranged in one of the following classes. In that, first is alphabetic classification, second is taxonomical classification, third is morphological classification, fourth is pharmacological classification, fifth is chemical classification, and lastly chemotaxonomical classification. Antileprotics. Leprosy is an infectious disease caused by microorganisms known as Mycobacterium leprae affecting the skin and nerves, resulting in disfigurement and deformity of the affected parts. The disease is characterized by glossy, corrugated, thickened skin with a decreased sensation of touch. The drugs used in the treatment of leprosy are known as antileprotics. Leprosy is completely curable disease but needs the treatment of long duration of time. Several chemotherapeutic agents including antibiotics are being used at present to treat leprosy. Important amongst are various herbal drugs such as Brahmi and Sal mogra oil are used in the drugs for natural origin available for the treatment of leprosy. Hence, the definition of antileprotics are: the drugs used in the treatment of leprosy are known as antileprotics, and the example is Chaul Mogra oil. The crude drugs under antileprotics we will learn is the Chaul Mogra oil. Anti-tumor drugs. Tumor is a Latin word that means swelling and neoplasm. Anti-tumor drugs are used in the treatment of cancer. The cancer or carcinogenic growth is an abnormal mass of new tissue growing in or on the part of the body. Several types of carcinogenic growth have been reported. The cancer is regarded to be an incurable disease in secondary stage. The radioactive substances, metal compounds, and several chemotherapeutic drugs have been suggested to control the carcinogenic growth. The definition of anti-tumor agents are: anti-tumor are the drugs which are used in the treatment of cancer, and the example is Vinca. The crude drugs under the anti-tumor we will learn is Vinca. Now we will learn anti-diabetics. Diabetes is a Greek word that is dia means through and benin means to go. Thus, diabetes is an inability of the body to utilize glucose due to the failure of pancreas to secrete insulin in sufficient quantity. Hence, the definition of antidiabetics is: the drugs which are used in the treatment of diabetes are known as antidiabetics. Example are Petrocarpus, Gymnema sylvestre. The crude drugs under antidiabetics we will learn are Petrocarpus and Gymnema sylvestre. Now we will learn diuretics. So, definition of diuretics is: diuretics are the drugs which increases the flow of the urine, and the example of such crude drugs are Gocru and Punarnava. The crude drugs under diuretics which we will learn are Gocru and Punarnava. Antidysenterics. The term dysentery is combination of two words, namely dys meaning bad or difficult and enteron meaning intestine. In dysenteric conditions, the inflammation of the colonic mucosa occurs, which leads to the passage of blood and mucus. The inflammation occurs because of the exotoxins produced by certain protozoal animals like an amoeba, Shigella, and certain ciliated protozoans, schistosomas, etc. Depending upon the type of invading parasite, dysenteric condition is grouped in various types such as amoebic dysentery, bacillary dysentery, balantidial dysentery, and schistosomal dysentery. So, the definition of antidysenterics are: the drugs used in the treatment of dysentery is called as antidysenterics, and the example is Ipecacuanha. The crude drug which we will learn under antidysenterics are Ipecacuanha. Antiseptics and disinfectants. Antiseptics are the chemical sterilizing agents which are used to kill pathogenic microbes or for the prevention of the growth. Examples are neem, turmeric, myra, or benzoin. Or you can even write: an antiseptic is an agent which prevents sepsis by destroying or inhibiting the growth of microorganisms on living tissues. The definition of disinfectants is: disinfectants are the substances which are used to make a surface free from pathogenic organisms, but these substances are applied on inanimate objects. Inanimate means non-living objects. These are the substances which kill the bacteria as well as the spores. Antimalarials. These are the drugs which are used in prophylaxis or treatment of malaria. The disease called malaria occur due to the infection by 4 species of a protozoan, Plasmodium. The species known to cause the disease in human are Plasmodium malaria, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, and Plasmodium falciparum. The disease shows the periodic symptoms like shivering, fever, and profuse sweating. The disease causing species get the infected into human body due to the bite of female of certain species of Anopheles mosquito. So the definition of antimalarials is these are the drugs which are used in the prophylaxis or treatment of the malaria. Example is Syncona, and the drug used we will learn under antimalarials are Syncona. Oxytocics. Oxytocics, these are the drugs which have stimulant effect on the motility of uterus or an agent that causes explosion of the contents of uterus by contracting the uterine muscles. Examples are ergot. The crude drugs under oxytocic are ergot. Vitamins. Vitamins are the substances which are considered to be essential for the maintenance of normal metabolic function but are not synthesized by the human body on its own and hence to be supplied from the outside sources. The examples of vitamins are amla and shark liver oil. The crude drugs under vitamins which we will learn are amla and shark liver oil. Enzymes. Enzymes are the protein substances which serve a role of catalyzing the biochemical reaction. The examples are papaya, diastase, yeast. The crude drugs under enzymes which we will learn are papaya, diastase, and yeast. Perfumes and flavors. So the perfumes, it is an substance which is made from natural or synthetic materials or a combination of both employed for creating pleasant odor. Such type of materials are combined by a perfumer for producing the pleasing fragrance. The use of perfumes goes back into the history when people used to burn fragrant resins, woods and gums as an essence. The term perfume has been derived from the Latin word per meaning through and fumus meaning smoke. Perfume making was one of the important arts in old days. Now we will learn the flavoring agents. The flavoring agents used in medicines have no therapeutic advantage, but they certainly have a psychological importance. The careful selection of flavoring agents in a formulation may be considered as an art. The flavoring agents have a major role to play in the development of the formulation for internal consumption. During the selection of the flavors, the taste of the drug is considered and accordingly flavors may be proposed. For example, for acidic taste, orange, licorice, raspberry flavor may be used. For bitter tasting drugs, peppermint, fennel, cherry flavors may be incorporated. For salty drugs, raspberry or citrus flavors are used. For flavors like lemon and grape are proposed for the drugs with metallic taste. So the crude drugs under perfumes and flavors are, which we will learn are peppermint oil, lemon oil, orange oil, lemongrass oil and sandalwood. Next we will learn are the pharmaceutical aids. So the definition of pharmaceutical aids are the substances which are of little or no therapeutic value but are essentially used in manufacturing or compounding of various pharmaceuticals are known as pharmaceutical aids or pharmaceutical necessities. Next, we will learn miscellaneous natural drugs and natural pesticides. In that, we will learn licorice, garlic, picoryza, Dioscorea, linseed, shatavari, shankhapushpi, pyrethrum and tobacco. Lastly, we will learn surgical fibers, sutures, and surgical dressings. In that, fibers are elongated, thick-walled cells with pointed ends, cell walls of which may consist of cellulose and may or may not contain lignin. The crude drugs under surgical fibers which we will learn are cotton, silk, wool, and regenerated fibers. Thank you for your patient listening. Introduction to Pharmacognosy brought to you by Pharmascholastic.